Very warm welcome to all of you. Myself, Anupama, I'm a chartered accountant. I welcome you all to this important session of the Global Udan webinar series. It's an initiative by the Directorate of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It is dedicated to equipping all the members and students with the knowledge and the perspective and the tools that we use that is pursued for the meaningful career. Since we are being so globalized and we are our wings are spreading across the globe, uh, this session called navigating global markets through cross cultural communication, it addresses a very critical component of the global professional success, because as we work with the diverse clients and colleagues and regulators across continents, we need that ability to understand and adapt to the cultural differences. So it's no longer an optional, but it is a very essential and a necessity. With this, I would like to welcome all the members today to this session. Thank you for making so much time out of your busy schedule and taking out your time to attend the session. Further, just a small information to all of you. In response to this growing importance for the language and the cultural fluency and the need for this cross-cultural communication, so we have ICAI, Directorate of ICAI has launched an online foreign language courses. I mean, this is wonderful for both ICAI members and the students as well. These include languages such as German, French, Spanish, and Japanese, and others also to help our professionals to overcome this communication barriers. Basically, it will help you to grow your network across and help you smoothly converse with them when you learn the foreign languages. So it's an online course and it is more effective for working on the foreign work environments. So I would really recommend all the professionals here who have joined to kindly take up this opportunity or take up this grab this opportunity and make the best use of it. With that, very warm welcome to all of you on this session. And as you know, the why this session is really important, because you might be negotiating your deal in Tokyo, or you might be pitching your presentation in New York, or you might be working remotely and managing a lot of remote work from Berlin or wherever from across the globe. You need to have that cultural awareness. As we get more cultural awareness on the other parts of the world, we can connect to them very easily, and this is also very essential, and it is heart of the success. So in today's session, what we're going to explore is that what are those critical role of cultural cross cultural communication, why it is really important, and what are the pitfalls as a professionals we come across when we communicate across the globe, and what are the practical ways to bridge these cultural gaps. As you all know, we have a different culture: Indian culture, Western culture, European culture, or so on and so forth. So to bridge these cultural gaps, so this is very very important, especially in the virtual world. You sit here and you work for foreign clients, so it's a virtual world, and everything is on hands for that, to communicate better, to make the workplace better. This is a very very important session. So coming across, we have with us, we are honored to have with us our speaker, CA Gaurav Gupta sir. I'm really close to this person. He's very inspirational person, in fact, and I am glad that I got this opportunity to moderate this session. Gaurav Gupta sir, he's a chartered accountant. He's a co-founder and director of Axos and Digimani Finance, and he's been entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience across finance, account, auditing, compliance, and technology-led businesses. And he's a member of the ICI. He holds a BCom degree also from Madras University and a PGDBA finance from Symbiosis Pune. So he began firstly his career with KPMG. He gained a lot of deep insights on audit, and he got an exposure across sectors such as technology, infrastructure, manufacturing, and services under the global frameworks, including US GAAP and IFRS. His professional journey reflects a consistent drive to bridge the gap between the finance and technology. I'm damn sure he's the right person over here, who can take this, the next to the next level. And he's being a co-founder and director. He has established two ventures, Axos, and a business. It's a business process outsourcing company. Is supporting accounting firms and SMEs across Australia, USA, UK, and European market. And Digimoney Finance, a fast-growing NBFC delivering a tech-enabled financial solutions. So at Axos now, 650 plus its member organization it is, and he leads the strategy, operations, and digital transformation. So at Digimoney, he is very instrumental in leveraging the technology to scale the credit operations and enhance the service delivery. He is recognized for his people first leadership and innovation mindset. He continues to champion automation, process efficiency, and secure digital practices both across both the organizations. He is very passionate about entrepreneurship, mentoring the talent, and shaping the future of accounting and finance through technology. So it's my pleasure to invite you to this session, sir, and thank you for joining us today. We are excited a lot to learn more insights from your end.
Thank you. Thank you, Anupama. Thank you so much for the kind words. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Global Udan webinar series. And special thanks to Abhayji, Sanjeevji, and the Department of International Trade, Services and WTO of ICI for providing this opportunity to share my experience of 17 years, which is into outsourcing and navigating these challenges into day-to-day life. So, thanks, Anupama, for the kind words. I think you've already covered my introduction in very detail. I'm sure people must have felt bored listening to such a big introduction, but thank you so much. At the same time, Anupama, one thing that I wanted to highlight, because we are going to make it very interactive kind of a session. Generally, it's whenever these kind of webinars, it's just one person speaking and everyone else listening. But as the format is, I have a moderator at my, it's good that I have a moderator who is going to be assisting me in this. Plus, there are beautiful audience who are going to be sharing the questions and which can be relayed online. So, my appeal to everyone is that please do ask as many questions as you want, whether you are already into the global business or in the process of setting up global business. We all know that the institute is they're running a lot of initiatives to globalize the accounting practices in India. So there's a huge opportunity available across the globe, especially because of whatever the global phenomenon like the skill shortfall. There are no accountants outside of India. So in India, you can find so many accountants, but outside India, it's so tough to find accountants. So there's a significant skill shortfall. So considering that you are in the process of setting up your global practice in that scenario, it becomes really, really important that you give importance to this topic, especially this topic. And one point before we get started, so Anupama, please do not call sir, and that is going to be one of the key learning from this presentation, whereby how we address people. Okay. Now, the other point is, it is not a soft skill course. I'm not here to teach you soft skill. I am not good in soft skill, in my opinion, at least. So the idea is only to share experience over the 17 years of dealing with clients across various geographies like Australia, which is our primary geography, and the other markets like US, UK, and Europe. So I'm just going to be sharing my experience. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. So quickly, we'll just take a look at the session overview. So we have 8 topics to cover today in this span of 1 hour and 50 minutes or so, whereby we are going to be talking about what really is meant by cross-culture communication. How does this cross-culture communication matters in the global market? What are the challenges faced in cross-culture communication? And trust me, I'm only going to share what my experience has been. How do we bridge these cultural differences? And these are learnings which have come out of our experience. There is a saying, right? Either you learn from others' mistake or you earn all the experience yourself, which is like very time consuming. So I'm here to take you through some of the mistakes that we have done over the years and how you can avoid those mistakes. That's going to be the key learning from this session. Then we'll cover the how to improve cross-culture communication, like very small, minor. I'm sure a lot of you might already know most of this. It's just that I'm trying to put everything into perspective and give you a package whereby you guys can even ask for this if you really want this presentation. I'm happy to share. It's certainly a teamwork. A team has worked on this. They have put together the thoughts, which is our thought process over these years, and what is our learnings over these years. So please feel free if you want to copy of this presentation. You're happy to take this, but right now the focus has to be outside this presentation, whereby whatever questions are bouncing in your mind, please do share those questions in the forum, and we will be able to take you through these questions in the respective order. If not, then finally after these 8 topics, we have the question and answer session, whereby we'll allocate a minimum. We'll try to do as much as possible, at least 15 minutes to help you ask all the relevant questions, and I'll try my best and justify my time here to answer all your questions.
That's
all right.
great.
So we'll go move forward.
Yeah, I think this is great. Guys, I'm sure today, Friday, a kind of weekend mood, but no, this 2 hours will be really resourceful to you, because I myself had been going through a lot of content on this topic, and it's not a general topic, by the way. So as Gaurav said, that it's not skill, also it's soft skill training. It is more as a conversation and discussion as a how we can improve upon those, as it is necessity. Okay, so coming back to that cross cultural communication, as you all know, this communication is required because we are dealing with different cultures and different people from different parts of the world, and that's why we tell cross cultural communication. And this communication can be verbal, can be non-verbal, can be gestures, and everything, every type is being included in that. You might be wondering, this cross cultural communication is a very small topic, and it will cover it might be a less content, but really not. It is heart of the business. I'll tell you, communication is heart of the business, and for that, this is really important. With that, I have few questions towards Gaurav, because I wanted to know more on, as you know, this is coming on behalf of the audience, basically. So this is, what is cross cultural communication according to you? How it is being different from the general communication that we have around in our corporate, or in India? And also, why is it so critical concept? Because you have taken it up as a separate series, so why it is a critical concept? And also, what can be done to bridge this cross cultural communications, or to improve upon the cross cultural communication? So over to you, Gaurav, on this.
Thank you. So first of all, congratulations, Anupama. You have crossed the first stage, whereby now you are able to address by my first name. So
Yes.
thank you so much. I know it is tough because we are so accustomed to our culture and practices. In fact, it's like a case study, right? When if I look at when I transformed from my career from my articleship period, which was in a traditional accounting firm, and then when I moved to KPMG, which was my first job, I found it so tough to address people by names. Okay, now KPMG is a typical example of a global firm, whereby people are working, in cross-cultural environment. So that was my first lesson, and that's precisely what I wanted to share here in this, webinar, whereby I just want to convey that yes, it is good to respect people. There's no doubt about it, but addressing them by their name, it makes it more personal, and it kind of creates a bit of a binding, rather than having that sir, which creates a bit of a distance. So the idea is simple, okay, and that's what we follow at our organization also, at Axos or Digimoney. People right from the junior most person as a trainee to the managing director or the directors, everyone we address each other's by name. So that's the first learning, but then we'll get into more. Okay, now without going into the definition, Anupama, to answer your question, like what is cross-culture communication, then in my opinion, cross-culture communication is simply all about interacting with your counterparts. That is, people from different parts of the globe. Okay. Now, let's not think that these challenges are applicable only to the service provider. You may be a service receiver also. Okay. So that means even our clients are trying to understand how they can communicate with their teams overseas, their global teams which are working from other remote locations, and understand their culture, because they understand that if they want to retain people for a longer term, understanding the culture of the people is very important. So it's not a one way thing that we need to understand about others culture, but even the other parties, that is the people overseas, are also trying to understand our culture. And a typical example of that I would like to share is, if you look at a lot of global practices, you will notice there is a new term which is coming up, which is called as the global people officer. Okay. Or the chief people officer. Now this is a role which has been created just to ensure that the global teams operate in an environment which each other understands about the other's culture. So for example, the team in Australia should understand the team in India, and team in India should understand the team in US, and team in US should understand the team in Philippines. So it is all about, because there are global teams, people from Asia, Europe, US, UK, Australia, so different worlds, interacting with each other. So knowing about people and having a culture in the overall global organization itself becomes very, very important. So it is changing slowly. So as I said, the first myth that I wanted to clear is that it is not about we learning about others culture, but it is also that the other counterparty is also trying to learn about our culture. Now, it is all about understanding what are the various verbal, non-verbal communication styles, what are the customs, what are the values, what are the business etiquettes, how can we use our skills to build successful professional relationship across global economy. That's the whole objective, of understanding about cross-cultural communication. And it is not a personal trait at all. It is now an organizational trait. That means you need to know about cross-cultural communication at the organization level and not at the personal level. Yeah, but obviously you need to train each of the personnel to make the organization, cross-cultural enabled. So that's my answer to your first question, Anupama. Now, why is this concept critical from our market perspective? Now, I'll give you again context from the outsourcing perspective. And just for the attention of the audience, the reason I'm using outsourcing as the context is because we are all chartered accountants. The primary thing that we can work in the global environment is outsourcing, because there is a pressing need for this profession. The onshore teams are lacking skills, in the sense they don't have enough skilled people, but they have a lot of work to do, which they are offshoring to countries like India, Philippines, or Latin America. So that is why we are talking, about this from a outsourcing perspective. But same thing applies even for other businesses, whether it is a product or dealing with goods or services, doesn't matter. Now coming back, the outsourcing business is also evolving now. Okay, now it is no more a data entry role which people are looking to outsource. I think thanks to AI and RPA, whereby most of this work is now automated. Now, hence, what is happening is the shift is towards the value add services. Now, another big shift is that the clients are no more expecting to look at outsourcing providers in a supplier or a vendor relationship mode. Okay, they are also understanding that now I don't need just a data entry operator in India to punch the numbers for me. They are also looking for, the new evolving concept is, or it has been in, in existence, but even under accounting outsourcing, now it is becoming more important that it is not about AR, AP, etc., but it is all about compliances, advisory and providing value add services. Which is why now what is happening is, rather than having pods in the form of teams whereby you have some processors, then there are a couple of reviewers, then there is a manager. Now this concept is slowly changing to a individual contributor role, whereby there is a full-time employee who is working for these clients. Okay, now what it really means is that the expectation of the outsourcee, that is the companies who are outsourcing the work to us, is that they are expecting the offshore team members to work exactly the way onshore team members work in a very integrated manner. That means the offshore team members become one of the team members of the onshore client. Okay, that's how it is transforming over these last, I can say, at least 6 to 7 years, whereby no more job by job, no more just data entry or hiring of a consolidated team. Here, the idea is that they need people with the right qualification, with the right skill set, and they should be able to deliver the work in accordance with the requirements of the respective geographies. Okay, so as a result, what is happening is the teams are becoming all the more, the onshore team are becoming all the more conscious that, okay, now if we want the best out of our teams offshore, then we need to make them part of our team. How can we do that? So what they're doing is, now in the month of November, I think this year, November 4th, there's going to be Melbourne Cup in Australia. Okay, I'm using Australia as the context because that's our primary market. So in Australia, this Melbourne Cup happens. Melbourne Cup is not a cricket cup. It's a horse race actually. Okay, it just, the duration is about 10 minutes or so, but the preparation is huge. People don't work beyond half a day during those days. I'm giving these extra bits to just give you a feel of what it really means for the Aussie clients. And what they're doing is they are making the Indian team also participate in this celebration by by relaying the race on the big screen in our office in the conference room, and people join there. There is food ordered, there is drinks ordered, and people are enjoying that. Okay, now this is exactly what is happening culturally in Australia. So whatever they are experiencing, the clients are giving the same experience to the team members in India, and we are supporting this because this is creating a lot of harmony between the two teams. It's creating a good relationship between the teams. So then the team participates, and they really feel, if you when we take the feedback from these people, they really feel that, oh, they are being valued and they are considered to be part of the onshore team. So that itself gives they try to give the best out of what is best possible. They try to learn these skills exactly the way the onshore team members are. So similarly, there are like Friday drinks and dinners. So the teams keep organizing those things in connection and in association with the onshore team. So these are the things culturally changing, which is kind of helping to align the cultures between the two countries and the two geographies. Now, there are quite a few cultural dimensions that shape the communication. Now, why these are important to and why you should understand these, just to facilitate and be aware when dealing with global clients. But then one thing is very clear: it is not about one approach or one template fits all. Every region is different. So I give you an example of Australia. It is quite different to US, to UK, to Germany, to Japan, to China. So every country behaves in a different way. So what we have done is just put together various cultural dimensions. So for instance, when it comes to US, Australia, Germany, especially, Australia, I will be referring to Australia as a Western country because even though geographically located in the eastern side of the globe, but still from a culture perspective, from the political ties perspective, it is pretty much a Western country. So I'm just clarifying that. So the Western world always believes in direct, explicit, and to the point communication. Whereas when you take Asian countries, especially India, Japan, China, etc., you will notice that it is more implicit, it's polite, it's nuanced, it's to the context, like it is contextual in nature. So now that itself is a difference. So now when you are dealing with the cross-culture regions or geographies, then you will have to ensure that you are giving some weightage to the other countries' way of communication. So that is where you will have to be mindful. And it's not tough at all. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, using sir is more of an Asian thing, whereas using the first name is more of a Western thing. Now, because we are operating in the Western world, we are using that. Now, that's not a compulsion that people in India have to always do that, even in their practices, which are Indian practices. You may still have to call your client a sir, which is absolutely fine. But what we are talking about here is between the when you're crossing the borders, when you're crossing the boundaries, what is that you need to do? How do you need to modify your communication and your intent so that we are avoiding any kind of issues. That's the whole purpose. Similarly, in terms of hierarchy, you will notice that most of the Western world they focus on a flat organization. So very few designations. Whereas in most of the Asian countries, you will notice that it is more hierarchical. Okay, here people because it's a requirement. Okay, it's requirement of the place. So nothing wrong. None of these are wrong or none of these are correct. It's just that when you are operating in a market which is outside India, then you will just have to adapt to that and value that. So don't think that, okay, if a decision has to be taken by a client, a person from the client side, then it need not be the managing director who needs to take the decision for something that you wanted to discuss. It can be just a manager who may take the decision. So again, it's an understanding thing that I wanted to highlight here. Similarly, communication medium, written communication, verbal calls, in-person discussion. Now, when is email or a memo compulsory? When is verbal or calls in-person discussions are compulsory? So whenever you are collaborating, then it is more to do with calls or Zoom or go to meeting, etc. Whereas when it is a formal communication, you are trying to send some information, then it is always preferred to have written communication. Now, preferences also varies culturally. Now, formal format versus informal format. As I mentioned, now there are places whereby you need to be really formal. For example, Japan, whereby you need to write in a manner whereby you say, you start with the dear so and so, and then you say, how are you, or hope you're doing well. And then you start the actual matter. But if you go to the Western world, people don't expect that. People say that just be to the point. That's it. Convey the message exactly the way you want to convey. They don't want any kind of a sugar coating or anything. So that's the cultural difference. And decision making perspective, as I mentioned, Western world, it's very quick and autonomous. Not much of hierarchy involved or group discussions involved. People take decision. Whoever is responsible for that role. Whereas in case of Japan, India, the Asian countries, you will notice that it's more collaborative. People meet, then they decide. Let's say if it is the pricing matter, then people don't take decisions individually. And especially even Axos being an Indian company, we also do the same thing. Whenever we are going for pricing related matters, we try to discuss among the board of directors, and then we go to the clients, communicating the pricing, etc., or the pricing strategy, etc. So it's not about one approach fits all. It's all about what is that, which market are you dealing with, what type of client you are dealing with, and accordingly how your communication should be. Now, in terms of timelines, also you will notice that certain places you will notice that it is very flexible. Like people work on relationship, they're okay if there is a delay. Whereas in certain places, no, it's a complete no. Like time means it has to be the time. If it is agreed, something is agreed at 5 o'clock, and that's the culture we have adapted early in the when we started in 2008. That was the first learning that if it is 5 p.m. On a Friday, it has to be 5 p.m. on a Friday. It cannot be after that. And if it sometimes there are situations that there are delays for whatever operational reasons, etc. In that case, all they are expecting is they're not immediately canceling the contract. All they are expecting is communication. Now, that communication is where we talk about whether we should send an email and forget it, or should we also send a follow up on chat that, okay, sorry, this work is getting delayed and we expect this to be completed by so and so time. Again, be precise on the communication in terms of what the timelines are going to be or the revised timelines are going to be. Similarly, in terms of negotiation styles, Western world, very competitive, target driven. They talk about productivity, they talk about efficiency. Uh, no, okay, it's yes, they do value personal, but when it comes to work for them, it is all about productivity and efficiency. Whereas, let's say India, we are not so focused. We know we are not so focused on productivity and efficiency. We believe in relationships. We believe that person is trying, even if they're trying and they're not able to achieve something, then we support them and we help them to deliver. So we give them time. So that's the fundamental difference in terms of the negotiation styles, etc. So now we'll take an example also. Okay, this is an example for why we should not templatize the communication across various regions. Okay, because if we try to do that, then it will land in problem. So for example, let's say an Indian team is sending a proposal. Okay, they are doing it in good faith. They are doing it, they're doing a long introduction. They're giving the background. Okay, what is the context and why we are sending this proposal. And then we use a very, very polite language. We use all the words which are required to address with respect, etc. And then when the US based client, they perceive it, for them, they look at it as they are interested is what is the communication, what is the main matter, very precise bullets, points, and what is the action required. This is what they are expecting. So as a result, what happens is, let's say if you have designed something for the Indian market and you're sending the same communication, same proposal to the US market or Australian market, they are going to perceive this email as if it is lacking clarity. That means too much beating around the bush. That is something which the Western world does not like most of the time. So for them, it has to be just pointers, that what is relevant to them is what you need to give them. And whereas what we feel is that, oh, let's give as much information as possible so that we flood the information, they can choose whatever they want, but they don't. All they were interested in is what is meant for them. So the solution is always understand what the recipient's expectation is, balance cultural tone with business purpose. Okay, so it need not be just culture; it has to be a business purpose assigned to it. Similarly, use global templates with local adaptations. So don't worry about that. Okay, yes, let's say if I build something for one market, I can use exactly the same thing for the other market. No, it's not going to work. We have realized this once we established ourselves in the Australian market, and when we are moving to the US and UK market, we realized that there is a huge difference. And I'm going to be covering some of the examples of how we change the way or the fundamental way in which we operate itself. So that's the how we can bridge the expectation, and then from this topic, especially from our perspective, what we mean by cross-cultural communication, it's about how important it is. Okay, and it's certainly nothing to do with language. It is more about tone, value, hierarchy, expectation, gesture, as Anupama explained in the introduction slide as well. Similarly, adapting your approach to cultural preferences, this will help you in boosting your business, because then you will be able to establish relationship with your clients, and they will be referring, once they become comfortable, they'll start referring you to their other peers and known people. So I think that's pretty much on the first topic, Anupama.
Yes, I think it was so insightful. In fact, it was a good kickstart, by the way, for this topic, because, as you said, it enhances the client relationships. Basically, why we need to understand is we have to have that good relationship and rapport with the client. I remember in one of my meetings as well, with working with some US client, and it says when it's a lot of times we confuse with the first name and the last name. And the first thing that we have to understand is calling out, they specifically tell call the first name and also clearly. So we stumble upon the spelling and the name. It is also very important because in the start of the meeting, if we stumble upon the name and call by the last name, they'll get furious, or it really, actually, to anybody be it, it
Puts
will,
you on the spot.
yeah, put you in the spot. And also they might not be comfortable over the full call, and that call might not be that productive or efficient. So I believe that it helps enhance the client relationship in the first instance, what we are supposed to do. Thanks for those insights. And coming up with few more questions from my end, I'm very keen to know that why this matters globally. We got to know that okay, what is cross cultural relationship, but today in the current market, because it's not as before, the virtual market started booming recently. So why it has become really matters nowadays, and also can you throw some light with few examples as to how it has played a important role in transforming the business either into a success or a failure?
Understood.
Yeah.
Perfect, Anupama. Very good question. So, okay, now why cross-cultural communication matters in global market? As I mentioned, communicating across culture is nothing to do with soft skills. It is much more than that. Especially from the context that you are either a global service provider or a service receiver. Okay, it applies equally to both sides. So, in order to, if you really want to expand globally, okay, and if you have the ability to communicate across the cultures, then it is a such a asset to have. Okay, now let's try to explore why it plays a vital role in today's interconnected world, because now no business is local now. Okay, today you take whatever business you take, there will be some angle or there will be some twist in the form of global connection, and that is why it becomes important. You take even products or goods today, like so many, so like even though we are trying to reduce our dependency on China, but today you go to any big supplier, wholesaler, etc., and they will talk about their connections with the Chinese suppliers. So it's inevitable. Yes, things are changing, from various political reasons, but when you look at it from a business angle, people have no choice. So they will have to engage with multiple, countries and multiple regions to either provide their services or to avail the services or buy the products. Now, what happens? How does the communication break down? Let's take a very nice example, Anupama, to answer one of the questions that you asked. Now, let's say there is a German company, there is a Japanese company. Okay, they both wanted to enter into a joint venture, and there is a meeting happening, face-to-face meeting, whereby various terms and various covenants of the agreements are being discussed by both the parties. Okay, now the Japanese were very, very respectful, and they were silent. They were just trying to consume all the information amongst themselves internally, and the Germans are very straightforward, and they're very quick. They take decisions very quickly. So it so happened that they thought that okay, Japanese have agreed to all the conditions and all the terms of the agreement, and they went ahead with the execution. But then, actually, later they discovered that Japanese have not even given their assent, or they've not even given their concurrence to most of the points. It was just that they were only trying to consume that information because that's how they have been culturally brought up. Now they went back and they were giving their views, or they were sharing the their concerns on the terms, and that's when German thought that, oh, you guys agreed everything in the meeting, and now you are coming and asking these questions again. So it created a rift, okay, and it created that friction. So now this is where now it's a misinterpretation, right? Now Germans thought that just because silence means consent, it's not. Okay, it's not in every part of the globe. So if certain part of the globe, it is all about being very, very vocal and be very, very clear and concise on the communication, that yes means yes, no means no. Now that's a big piece which I'm going to cover in one of the slides as well. This is just another example of how communication can break down when there are two where people are talking from two different backgrounds, geography and culture. Now, how do we build trust across cultures? Now, it's very, very relevant. Now, if you look at in Western culture, trust is built through paperwork. Okay, they believe in contracts. They believe in performance. If you deliver, that's the best proof. Okay, you may put whatever you want to put in your presentations. You can promise as much as you want, but they believe in under promise over delivery. Okay, and that's a mantra which we'll all have to carry with us, that it's fine to under promise, but delivery has to be always at par or above that promise. Okay, similarly in Eastern culture, if that is our Asian countries, etc., you will notice that it's all about relationship and shared expenses. So people generally don't go and buy from strangers. Let's say if you have to buy something, they don't go to strangers. They always look for some reference. Okay, do I know that person? Okay, that person knows another person. The other person knows another person. So that's how you will start building your business relationship. You may fail in that as well. Okay, because ultimately the performance is dependent on the ultimate person. The in between, whoever you communicated through, is not going to be into the picture at all. So again, it depends on the cultural alignment. Whether you are able to get the best out of by way of performance and contracts, or whether you are able to do it through relationships. So depending on which geography you are dealing with, what culture you are dealing with, you will have to decide that and take a decision. Now, similarly, you will notice that in case of a Western country, they always expect quick to the point communication. They're not interested in listening to the stories and wasting time on calls, etc. Which is important from a relationship perspective. These things happen, but over a period of time. But at least in the initial phase, when you are in the process of establishing the relationship, it is all about talking to the point. Whereas Indian client, it's all about rapport. You talk about known people, you talk about known businesses. You bring some context to the conversation, and then you convert that into a business. Now, Australia is no different. In fact, you will notice that once the rapport is some sort of a rapport is built, that is there is some business relationship which has established, then mostly you will notice that the conversation always starts with weather condition, whether it is raining or sunshine, followed by a bit of cricket, especially around India Australia matches. Then this actually really helps in building the rapport. So now one more real world example. Okay, I don't know how much if someone has heard about this. It's something early in the 60s, long ago. Pepsi came up with this slogan to compete with its rival, which is Coke. Come alive with Pepsi, and it got a big outlash from China, as it meant bring back ancestor from the grave. Okay, that was the literal translation of this phrase. Okay, so just imagine, just because they're based in US, they were trying to do this for US. It maybe for the Western world this was all good, but the moment it reached one of the significant market, it failed. The entire campaign failed. So especially we communicate through our websites. Now I'll give you a contextual, let's say our example itself. So all of us, for us, the first thing is that when we start a business, for us, we need to have a nice website, and that website should convey the message, because that's your first impression, because people first come to your website before even talking to you. So when they come to your website, now it is important that you make your website content local for each of the market that you are operating. So I'll give our example. So we started with the Australian market in 2008, and so our domain was always axos.com.au, which was a local domain for the Australian market. Now in 2020, when we wanted to move to the other markets, that is US, UK, Canada, etc., then that's when we realized that, okay, if I'm going to share a domain which says .com.au, no one is going to look at it, because for them it will easily sound as if it's an Australian business, and what is Australian business to do with outsourcing, like providing outsourcing services? So that's when we said, okay, .com.au was suitable for the Australian market, but now if we want to operate in the global market, then we should have something global. That's when we shifted our websites way back in 2020 from .com.au to .net, because .com was not available. Now, recently, we have realized that even .NET does not work. It is not giving enough attention in the global market. It's becoming, it is showcasing as if Axos is a very small company, because .NET is meant for networking and smaller organizations. So now we are in the process of evaluating that. Okay, can we have local websites once again, or local domains once again, for each of the geographies that we are operating in? So this is a big learning, right? We have done that mistake over these years, and we have paid the price for this. Now we don't want people like you who are trying to establish yourself, or you are already established your business into these markets, to go through this, right? So you should be able to straight away, if you want to deliver to multiple geographies, or right now your plan is to start with one market, but your future plan is to go global with multiple markets, then you should think of something which is global. So, for example, .com is a global thing. Okay, people recognize it. They place a lot of value to .com domain. So these are small examples whereby we will have to act in accordance with the requirement of the various geographies. So similarly, whether it is image, your logo, your colors, your there's so much of perception about all these things across the globe. What works in India may be offensive in another part of the world. Okay. Similarly, when it comes to, so the idea is, when it comes to, if we want to get into a business, which is, because we are all chartered accountants, because our focus is on finance and professional services, then we should ensure that we localize our messaging to the respective geographies. So why it matters, the key takeaways, Anupama: cross-culture communication, it's a business necessity, not a soft skill. It protects relationships, enhances branding, and reduces costly misunderstanding, which we have gone through. For professionals like CAs, it means better collaboration and global mobility, because you'll have to travel. There's no way that you can escape that. So, and long-term client success, which is what we have been able to establish, the trust in the Australian market, which we are trying to do in the other two markets.
Okay, thanks for that. Coming across all those points, I understood that it is not always a smooth sailing. This cross culture communication, you need to do a bit of research, and you need to work upon those practices. So when we are practically dwelling, getting into this cross culture communication, I would like to ask you about what are those common challenges that professionals and organizations face when they communicate with different cultures, especially when they have to enter a new market or they have to work with a very diverse teams. Because example, I just came across that fun fact, or maybe just a fun fact that Japanese usually, if you show a thumbs up, okay, after the meeting you say, "Hi, thumbs up, it's good." We take it as a cool, okay, it's fine, that okay, everything went good, just a thumbs up. But we also see in a lot of webinars we use that emoji like thumbs up. But when it in the Japanese culture, they take it as offensive, whereas in the Western countries, in the Western culture, a thumbs up is okay, it's good.
Yeah.
So this kind of challenges that we come across, we may see it as very small, but it is very sensitive matter. So if you could just let us know what are the common challenges in different aspects and in different perspectives, especially that we face when we enter into new markets or when we work with across different cultures.
Absolutely. So, okay, now when it comes to cross culture and barriers, it's not just about the language barriers. Okay, it's not about just the pronunciation or the words or the accent. Not at all. Okay, it is about the overall communication piece. Okay, now a service level agreement is pretty much an example or a document, a business document, which we all understand about, right? Now, is it possible to have same service level agreement for all geographies? Let's say we'll take our example itself. We are in Australia, US, and UK. Now these are our three locations. Now the service level agreement in Australia may not be acceptable in UK, and what is acceptable in UK is not acceptable in US. Okay, a mere translation or language change is not sufficient to understand the communication that you intend to do. Okay, so importance must be given to the intent behind the communication. Now, for example, in Australia, you have privacy laws. Okay, in UK and Europe, you have GDPR. Okay, now if you are going to talk about privacy principles to in the SLA, which is meant for the European or the UK clients, they're going to be just like that. They will think, they will not even ask you. They will just think that you are not compliant with the GDPR requirements. It's straight away a deal break. It's just going to fail the deal. Whereas, so I'm just giving this as an example, being a service level agreement, which is such an important business document. So templates are not going to work. Okay, if you have template for one country and just you do a bit of a language change, that's not going to work. It's all about the tone, the intent behind the communication, the content which is relevant to the respective geography. That is what is very, very important. Now, let's say, in fact, this is the example I've given here. A client presentation, you've created a presentation in English. Now you're trying to do the same presentation to a Japanese audience. Okay. Now, do you think just by merely translating that presentation, will we be able to achieve what we want to really achieve? We'll fail, because it is not going to be in line with the expectation of the Japanese population or the audience which is looking at it. So the biggest takeaway here is that language difference can lead to broken trust or missed opportunities. My example, GDPR compliance, if non-compliant, then they don't even talk to you because they're so concerned about GDPR and they are so particular about GDPR. So being mindful of the requirements of the respective geography is a must. There's no exception to that. Similarly, in fact, exactly the same thing which Anupama highlighted just now about non-verbal cues. Okay, now misreading the body language can itself confuse or offend. Now, what do you do in that case? Like, you want to say okay, you are excited, you wanted to show the thumb, but then that's not correct. It's not accepted in some part of the globe. Eye contact. Okay, generally we all believe, we are all in the GMCS program, etc. We are taught that we should maintain eye contact with the audience. Okay, we should even now I'm trying to maintain the eye contact with the audience, but it's not considered appropriate in Japan. So it is all about. So it's not about what is wrong, what is right. It is the perspective. Something is right here, may not be right in Middle East. Something is right in Middle East, may not be right in Japan. So it is all about getting to know. And how you can get to know about all this? It is either you can read about their culture or you have to visit there. When you go there, automatically people start giving you, signals, and they will start teaching you what their culture is. And that is why people say that you should travel a lot. So that will itself give you a lot of education in terms of other cultural requirements. Now, breaking the ice, not the culture. Okay, if you give a bit of importance to this, we cannot fit everyone into one standard. Okay, now we can't say that. Okay, we all generally say, general perception is that Americans are informal. Okay, they love to have a casual talk and talk business casually, and it's a very informal kind of a setup is what we say. But that does not mean every American is going to be informal. Okay, So you will have to. It's a point whereby you will have to balance it out. Now we'll take an example of an attire. Okay, let's say we are going overseas. We are attending a conference. Let's say it is in US. You're not too sure. You've been invited to a party and you're not too sure what to wear. Okay, they've given you some guidance on what is the dress code, but then you're not too sure what that really means. Okay, you tried Google everything, but you're confused. Now the best option is you try to be slightly formal. Don't go over the board by okay, if it is 80s attire for that party, then you just go in 80s kind of attire and with all those pants and shirts, etc. So that's not what is expected. If you're not sure, if you're not comfortable, then it is better to start slowly. Start with a formal thing, whether it is communication, that is verbal communication, or a written communication, or it is your attire, your dressing. Everything you can start with a formal thing. People won't mind. Now, for a party, you can't go in suits and proper formal dress. That's what I'm saying. You need to maintain the balance. What is the occasion? What is the requirement? That's where you will have to balance it out. That okay, I'm not overdoing something. I'm not overthinking something. So that will make you comfortable also. So similarly, simple thing is that stereotype, oversimplify, and can hurt rapport. That means if you believe that you just want to make jokes with people, or you want to be very very straightforward to a German, because we believe that Germans are very very to the point and very straight. If that is our thought process, then no, you will have to understand the situation. Start with formal, but slowly, depending on the how the other person is behaving, how they are interacting with you, accordingly change the gears, and accordingly you also move. So it's not that I will not be able to train on this, but these are the learnings which we have made over the period. This party example is also I'm giving from my own experience, and it was actually 80s party which I was invited to, and it happened just a couple of months ago. So but then I stuck to okay, I knew that this is something which I don't know how people are going to be taking it, so I just stayed normal. It was a business casual or a slightly casual dressings, but I adapted to simple. So to avoid any kind of discussion or any kind of embarrassment from our own perspective, people don't mind, but there's a lot of things that get into our head itself. So coming to now, a similar problem arises when we say yes to everything. Okay, now it's about some of the unspoken words. Okay, now in the indirect communication, it's all about tone and context. Okay, that's how we are used to. We don't have to say the entire thing. Certain things we assume as we know that okay, in this context, this is what it means. It need not be like we are used to that, right? Now, similarly, we are able to read between the lines. Okay, if someone is saying this, then this is what probably it means. We are used to this, but unfortunately, the Western world is not. For them, they don't know or they're not trained to read between the lines. That is why they believe in direct messaging. Now, this example, and I'll give you one more example also. So, a US manager finds an Indian colleague's indirect, I'll try. So, basically, he has asked to give, this person is about to give some work. He says that this needs to be completed. And the Indian colleague, he says that I'll try. Now, the understanding of the US manager is going to be that means he's not going to do it. Okay, because I'll try in their language is not certain, it's not to the point, it's not conveying a specific meaning. Okay, it's kind of probable. That means this person may not do it. Now, similar problem arises when we say yes to everything. Okay, and I can say proudly in India, we say yes to everything. Whenever people want to, let's say we are working in an environment, let's say in our firms, a boss comes, they give us any work, we never say no. We say, okay, give it, we'll do it. But then what happens is we get into a scenario whereby we are not able to finish that work. Okay, that is the work which we already had and the work now which is given to us. As a result, it creates a difference between the your boss and yourself, because the expectation was that the whole purpose of giving that work itself was so that you complete it. Now you will try to put that extra efforts, you will try to deliver it, and it arises not only in internal scenario, even when you're dealing with overseas clients. It so happens that they give you something randomly because they have a requirement, so they give you a task which needs to be completed urgently. Now you may not have the bandwidth to complete that, but you say yes because we're not trained to say no. So as a result, what happens is you take that assignment, you actually deliver a bad quality, or you don't deliver at all, and then it creates a bit of a difference. Then the client understands that maybe you could have just said no because you were already occupied. It would have been simple. They would have planned it in a different manner. Or maybe the work that you were doing was not priority. You could have checked that with the client that I'm already working on this. Can I, drop this and take this up? It's just simple communication. Now, this is nothing to do with language, right? It is only about conveying the right message, that whether you have the bandwidth or you don't have the bandwidth. For this, you don't have to be indirect. It can be a direct communication that no, you can't do this because you're already working on some priority. And then it is for the client to decide whether they want you to work on the less priority work or the more priority work. So, typical example, and just to let you all know that we have this particular point itself covered in our induction program. Okay, because we don't want people to assume things and just say yes, sir, to everything. We don't want that people to do that. So that is why we train them on the point that please do not say yes to everything. If you believe, have a conversation, communicate with them, tell them what exactly is the possibility and what is not possible. So that's big learning from our perspective. Now, timelines, deadlines, and digital differences. It's very, very important. When it comes to time orientation, whether it is monochronic, very punctual. If you go outside of India, you will notice that now coming on time is considered late. Okay, I'm sure whoever is dealing with the overseas clients already in this audience, you will realize that when you go for a meeting and let's say you land there 5 minutes early, you will already find that the person with whom you're going to do the meeting is already there in the meeting. Okay, now imagine if you are let's say coming on time, okay, and that person is already waiting for 5 minutes. Okay, now that itself, it's no harm. You're coming on time, which is perfectly fine. But things have changed now. The expectations are changing. People believe that getting on, there can be technical issues. There can be sometimes, something may not work. Now, take this example of this webinar. Myself and Anupama were there 15 minutes before the webinar actually got started. We did all the testing, like our presentation is good, our mics are good, our video is good. We ensured everything is functioning so that we can avoid any kind of issues as we go live, right? So this is just an example. Now this preparation is required not only for external meeting or webinars like this, but it is important even in our day-to-day life now, because if you are dealing with overseas clients, you have no other choice. Things are changing in India also. People have started to give a lot of importance to other person's time. It happens sometimes that you may not be able to make it, but you need to be conscious about it when you're dealing with overseas, because it is considered to be rude. Similarly, email is preferred. I'm sure how many of you know, I don't know, but you will notice that the usage that we have, the WhatsApp usage that we have in India, it is not there in any part of the world. Okay, or maybe we can say Asia. Rest of the world, there is hardly any usage of WhatsApp. people hardly use WhatsApp. They still use their text messages or emails. They don't use WhatsApp at all. So again, when you are in a formal kind of a setup, you having a communication using WhatsApp can be avoided when you're dealing with the overseas clients. You can stick to maybe email, or there are other technology platforms like Slack or Teams or whichever way. So that is considered to be more formal. So yeah, what you don't know can hurt the deal. Now, again, it's all about not knowing few things. See, not knowing is not acceptable, right? You When you're dealing with a client, for example, I'll give you the easiest of the examples: time zone. Okay, it's an important thing, right? If you're dealing with your overseas clients, you can never give the meeting time, or when you are conveying the meeting time, you can never convey that in your local time IST. If they are, you need to know where they are. If they are based in eastern US, then you have to give them the EST time. If they are based in Pacific time zone, then you have to give them the PST time. So depending on the location, you are the one who, if you're dealing, and if it is for your clients, you are the one who need to be aware of the time zone. Now, not knowing what is the time difference between the eastern zone and the IST, then that's our problem. That's not the client's problem. So these are some of the things which we need to be aware of. Similarly, obviously we don't get into inappropriate jokes or references, etc. But if that kind of a situation arises, then it's better to avoid those kind of communications or unintentional rudeness. Like, you just use some words which may be rude in the Western world. So, and you're dealing with them, you're having a conversation, and people can take it very offensively. So similarly, like certain cultures, they expect that, okay, you need to have some good talk before you get into the business, building those rapport, etc. So in those cases, we'll have to do. But certain geographies, they expect that you get into the jump into the straight away into the agenda. So it again depends on which part of the world that you are addressing to. Now let's make it real. So let's say if you are leading a, so Anupama, this is for you.
Okay.
If you're leading a meeting with a German client and an Indian team,
Huh.
who do you greet first?
German client and Indian. Okay, so I think first the German client, they will expect that more professional and formal greeting than a bit of semi-formal greeting in the Indian team. So
Correct. The reason is because the expectations are that they're, that's the image, right? We have of the German people that, okay, they're very very rule based. They're a bit on the like, they believe in direct communication. They feel that they are important. So you will have to first greet them if they are your clients, right? So, and even otherwise also, in, let's say we are in India itself. Okay, take a simple example. Let's say you have your client sitting and you have your team member sitting. Obviously, the first thing is that you will greet the client first, and then obviously you will greet your team members as well. So it's something very very straightforward, right? No one has to teach this, but let's say you do the other way, then it can certainly offend the other party. Similarly, what tools do you use to follow up? Email, call, or WhatsApp?
first thing is mail because they don't prefer WhatsApp or something that affects the personal space. I believe WhatsApp is through personal space. So email keeps it more formal.
Correct. So usually the way we train our people is that, and because we have similar kind of a session that we take for our team members when they get inducted to the organization, we tell them that it's always email. Your first thing is email, because email cannot be missed out. Then let's say if the matter is urgent, now then you cannot stay with just email. Oh, I've sent the email. People may not look at your email immediately. So that means you need to have a follow up on a call, or if there is already a WhatsApp communication happening between you and the client, then it's fine. You can send a WhatsApp message, but that's only a polite follow up. Okay. The main content is still in the email. and your reference in the call or WhatsApp is to that email, because that's where you have precisely put together, all the requirements, etc. So with that, we cover most of the challenges
I'm
that we
sure.
face in
Yeah,
cross-cultural communication.
that's great. I'm sure the audience also had all those challenges in their mind. Basically, they face challenge with respect to language, gestures, and the way they have to put it out, the communication, and if you have to, move. Or approach towards them, how to greet and what they expect actually. So these are challenges they face, and I'm sure they got more insights on those challenges. Now, coming back to what are those things that helps to bridge this gap, or what do you say, the cultural differences. We have heard of two things: one is IQ, and one is EQ, that is emotional intelligence. Now the third thing that is really important is a cultural intelligence that we have to build upon.
The
uh,
CQ.
yeah, right. ECQ. So because we are growing globally, and we are dealing in this virtual world, we are dealing with across the globe. So now, if you could just give more insights on how these businesses and individuals can bridge these cultural differences, and what are the so important cultural intelligence that we have to work upon, and is there any such framework or principles that we have to keep in mind, basically to avoid conflicts in the future?
Certainly, Anupama. So, firstly, to bridge the cultural difference, it is most important to use the cultural knowledge and cultural intelligence, and that's what CQ is all about. Now, let's dive into the. So now, um, you can find solution to most of these issues with the help of technology today. Okay. Now, for instance, I'm sure everyone is using ChatGPT today. Okay, the simple step is that all that you need to do is when you draft an email, okay, just pass it through ChatGPT. Understand, let's say if you have to localize it to a particular market, how can you localize it to that market? See, you may have to do this for your geography only maybe few times, maybe 4 or 5 times, and then you will pick up very quickly that what is that I can use, or what is that kind of language I should use for the geography in which I am operating. So, tone misinterpretation in email is a common problem. Okay, now that you can solve by either staying neutral, like very keep it very generic, and not towards aligning too much towards US tone or a UK tone or a Australian tone, the use of the letters, etc. That's not that important. Okay, it's just that it is better to have a neutral tone, so that you're not going wrong, firstly. Okay, but if you want to do better, if you really want to be very effective in your the communication, then you can use technology. Similarly, let's say if there are issues around your time difference, etc. Now, let's say you have a team which is sitting in US, you have a team which is sitting in UK, you have a team sitting in Australia. The best way is to have a shared calendar whereby everyone can see your calendar in accordance to their time zone, and they will be able to collaborate with you, they will be able to fix meeting with you easily without much of issues. Project management tools. Now, I'm sure a lot of people must have come across Monday.com, Asana. There's so many project management tools which are in market, and most of the accounting practices use those project management tools. The whole idea of that project management tool is it is resolving your delivery related communication gap. So if you're on these tools, you can easily communicate to the client without having to physically communicate. It's already there. If someone wants to check the status of a project, they can just log into their version of the Asana or Monday.com, and they can identify what is the status of each job. So it makes your life easy. So now, being neutral, ensure that when you are conveying a message, use written documentation to the extent possible. Avoid any kind of miscommunication. Like we might say that, oh, I'll give you the completed job or the deliverables at 4 o'clock. Now, who's 4 o'clock? My 4 o'clock, your 4 o'clock. We are in different time zones. We don't know. So having those alignments with the help of technology is something which you can easily do, and it is to do with it's not nothing more than that. Cultural intelligence is nothing more than that. Just being aware of other person's perspective, getting into their shoes, thinking before when you are communicating, thinking about their let's say it's a Friday evening. Now Friday evening you are trying to send something to an Australian client, or you are expecting a response on the same day. Impossible. It won't happen. Most likely won't happen. So these knowledge is what we call it as cultural intelligence, and that is must today if you are operating in the global markets. Now, again, the other thing is best way to bridge, these cultural differences is to speak their language. Okay. Now, I'll give you examples. Let's say if the name of the person is Shean, how will you pronounce it, Anupama? Shean.
Shean. Okay, it's kind of difficult because E and A comes together. So Sheen,
it's actually Sean.
Sean. Oh,
Okay.
okay. In Indian language, W comes if it is Sean.
So that's the
Okay.
difference, right? So
Yeah.
these things we will have to learn. Okay. Now, the moment it is Michael, we don't address Michael as never as Michael. Okay. It's always Mike. Stephen is always Steve.
Steve. Okay.
Okay. Matthew is always Matt. You just try to call them Matthew and you're gone. That's the first follow. Straight away it will start on a negative note. Oh, don't call me. No one calls me Matthew. Call me Matt. And we have gone through this a lot. Okay. So knowing these nuances, and using those nuances, again, to the extent you are confident about it. Don't try to, put everything together. For example, if you look at this example where in US you say, let's cut to the chase. You can't do that to a UK client. They will feel offended. They'll say, what are you trying to say? Why are you so bossy? Okay. Whereas in Japan, we may use hope this message finds you well. Now for US, hope this message finds you well is like cut the crap. They will say, cut the crap. Don't give me all this. Just to be to the point. So again, depends on which geography you are operating. Depending on what the parlance or the what is the common communication methodology or culture is. Accordingly, you will have to adapt to that. If you don't do that, then automatically you will face there will be some indirect issues. See, I can tell you one thing. These things, if your delivery is good, all these matters are things of automatically, as I mentioned to you, once you are performing well, if your performance is really good, then all these matters are very trivial in nature. No one gives too much of importance. They understand that what they're interested in is the actual outcome, and these things can improve over a period of time. But these have to improve over a period of time if you have to move to the next level. Otherwise, you stay where you are. So now, why does the cultural alignment or the why this is important is now let's take another example. So there is a accounting software called Xero. I'm sure today a lot of people will know what Xero is. Xero. Okay. Now this is the most popular um, uh, software, accounting software like Tally or Zoho. This is very popular in Australia, and I can say that almost 80% of the businesses use Xero. This is the best software available in Australia, and it is really good. Okay, now the same product, so popular in Australia, they are trying to settle themselves in US, but they're finding it so tough. Okay, the simple thing is because Xero has adopted exactly the same methodology, marketing technique, communication style as in Australia, which is not working in US. So they are still struggling to establish themselves in the US market. So you need to develop. Let's say if it is marketing, then the campaigns have to be designed individually for each of the market. You can't have the, let's say if you're doing an email marketing, you can't have the same template used across Australia, US, UK. You need to have, for Australia you need to have a separate template, for UK you need to have separate template, and for US you need to have separate template. So again, this is very important here, because if you don't differentiate between the geographies and don't value their local cultural values, then you will not be able to establish that connection. And that connection is what is very, very important. So there's one stat put together here which says companies with diverse teams are 33% more likely to outperform their peers. Okay, this is from McKinsey, and it's a nice fact, because yes, the moment you are working in different geographies and with diverse teams operating from various time zones, it gives you a lot of synergy, and that synergy is what helps you in growing faster than the other organizations. So the what is the solution? As I mentioned, it is all about train before you tread. So just be ready. Now I was telling about this, right? That we have a induction program. Now that is where we train our people on all the cross culture communication. So Australian team undergoes a Australian program. US team undergoes a US program, whereby we teach them all the local slangs. We tell them exactly the same thing which I said. Sean and Michael is Mike, and Steve and Matt, and all these things are like, we also tell them like what are the popular stores. For example, 7-Eleven. Okay, people use that in the conversation just as a contextual thing. So if you don't know what a 7-Eleven is, you will not understand what they are trying to convey. Similarly, Woolies, Coles. So all these are just stores. Name of the stores which are so popular. Target is a store. So our team members or we may not know all this, and we miss out on some of the communication, because when we use these, the way in India we call it Tata. Tata means we have an image in our mind. So when we are, don't be a Tata, don't be a Ambani, means we know what someone is trying to say to us, right? But if we don't know what Tata is, we don't know what Ambani is, then obviously we're going to miss the communication. So training is really important to avoid any kind of accidental offense, or to build that rapport and that empathy in the global mindset, etc. So you need to be aware of, whenever you are setting up your business, ensure that you build something whereby you talk about the do's and don'ts for the various cultures. And you can do simulations, you can run programs like this, training programs like this, which is not tough. It's just that someone has to really take the initiative and do it for the team members. So it's very simple. We all know it. It's just that we miss out on these things. Then it comes on the aligning mindset before milestones. So defining, like when people say it is urgent, then you understanding what is really urgent means, and communicating with the person who is giving you an urgent task that you're already working on something. Feedback delivery style, like how do you deliver the feedback? Like, there's a concept of sandwich feedback, whereby you say, oh, everything is good, but then this one, maybe if you could have done this better, and then again followed with a good feedback. So these are sensitive things, right? You want to be aware, and you need to be a lot of Australian clients do that. So when they give the feedback, you can easily see that they're using the sandwiches in between, whereby they're giving a nice feedback, and then there is a slightly the actual constructive feedback they want to give, and then they again give the nice feedback, so that they understand about the culture, and they know that if I give direct feedback to my Indian team, they may feel offended. So they try to balance it out. So they are also trying to do the same thing, and same thing applies to us as well. So, yeah. All right. So that's on the bridging the cultural differences.
Yeah, so thank you so much on those. I'm sure we came across these challenges and now how we can bridge the cultural differences on what all we can work upon. One thing that I really admired on the point that is shared calendar usage. I'm sure that will really help a lot because of the different time zones. So that also is a gap in the communication. So if you have the shared calendar, they will also know at what time they will have to attend the meeting or what time it is being scheduled. And also some project management tools that you focused on, I'm sure that will also help the members over here listening to it. On that note, now let's talk about taking more action on these. Basically there are instead of we focused on what are the medians of the communication and how to do it. Now what are the strategies that we can put in to improve that communications? And also if you could share a few practical strategies both at the personal and the organizational levels that will help us in the cross cultural
100%.
communication.
100%. Yeah. So maybe Anupama, just before I get into the what are the things that we could do to improve our communication and to improve the cross cultural communication. Maybe if you have questions flowing in from the audience, then we can do a time check because we are another 34 minutes more in the presentation.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that so that before the next topic we can try to cover some of the questions if required. Otherwise, we can take everything in the last.
There are three, four questions, but if you want to, we can pick one question now and the rest to the
Oh yeah,
last.
sure, we can do that. Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure. Okay, so first thing is how to get work globally, as traditional practice in India is not worth nowadays. Is the first question. If you
Okay.
can put that up.
So okay now. Okay, I run this the US outsourcing course, and I do the last 2 days in that course, which is a certification course by the institute. And this is the most popular question I get, like how to get the clients, or how to get your first client, or how to get clients in the overseas market. Okay, now there's no shortcut to getting a client in the overseas market. The funda or the strategy is exactly the same. You will have to reach out to the people. You need to establish the trust. You need to communicate that to them, and that is the only way you can reach out. And reaching out means it can be in any form. Like, let's say your relative lives in US. I'm sure they will have a CPA client. Communicate to your relative, get an introduction to the CPA client. That's your first step to get your first client. Okay, may not be the CPA, but at least you will learn what exactly is the requirement in the market and how you will be able to deliver to this market. So again, coming from this topic perspective, your email communication, that is your email marketing campaign, your website, your when you're calling your clients, it can be a cold call or any kind of a communication that you want to do to convey what exactly your services are. All this have to be aligned to the respective geographies. If you're operating in US, you will have to talk the way people expect in US. When you're talking to the clients in or the prospects in UK, then you'll have to talk to them in the way they want to listen to this communication. So to answer in a nutshell, Anupama, it is getting the first client is as similar to you would get in your Indian scenario also. For instance, in India, when someone sets up a young guy, freshly qualified, sets up a practice, how does they do that? They just try to reach to their known people, people known to dad, people known to brother, whomever they are able to reach out to, and they start getting little bit work. Then they demonstrate their quality. Once the quality is demonstrated, that's when you move to the next level. So it's no brainer. It's nothing different. It's exactly the same.
Okay.
All right. I hope it answers.
Yes.
So we will move to the next section, whereby strategies to improve communication. Okay. First thing, my disclaimer. these are not the only strategies, or these are not the only ways. These are just our experience, like my experience, what we have faced over the 17 years, and we're just communicating that. So, but you will have to take a cautious step, like what is maybe what has worked for us in one market, it does not work in the other market. Uh, Similarly, what is working for us in that market may not work in the third market. So it's all different, and our experience has been mixed experience, whereby all the geographies, it has been, a different kind of experience, different kind of, some has been quick growth like US, whereas UK is still, like, we are still scratching the surface. Like, we are still trying to get, we have got few clients, but it's still not grown to a stage whereby we can call it as a prominent division in our business. So every market works differently. There are different strategies which are required for each market. The point is how to improve your communication, which can help you in getting more business. That's it. So first thing is, before you start your conversation, etc., or you want to set up the business in any of these geographies, first thing is that you need to set the local norms. Okay, so what is the greeting ritual? What kind of tone people are using? What kind of body language? What is polite? What is offensive? So knowing these things, and these things are all available, on the web search. You can just do a web search and you will be able to find most of the answers to these questions. The reason I'm not giving you a straight away answer is that there's no direct answer. It depends on the situation, depend on the business, depend on whom you are talking to. So that is why you will have to do the research. So the importance here is you doing the research and understanding the local norm. That's what I am conveying here. I'm not giving you what is the local norm. I don't know. I may not know, or I may not be good at that, because that's not my specialization. So the idea itself is that these are some of the steps that you need to follow when you are trying to establish yourself in this market. Yeah. For example, now some of the tips that I'm able to give is avoid idioms or slang, because it can have a totally different meaning, like the Pepsi ad, right? It can convey a totally different meaning to a different audience. So let's try to be neutral as much as possible. Use simple language. That's the best thing. All that people are expecting is simple, clear English language and nothing else. You don't have to really fancy it too much, or trying to too much aligned with the culture, etc. So try to keep it simple, at least in the early days. Then active listening. Now listen to understand, not to reply. Okay. A lot of people, and I'll give you a live example. I've seen when we are on these calls, Zoom, etc., and let's say there are 3 or 4 audiences, and you will notice everyone is not, like, one person is speaking and 3 people are the ones who are listening. Now you will notice that one person in that group, especially in our team I'm talking about, that person will keep saying okay, yes, okay, yes. Now that's such a put off, because that actually spoils the rhythm, because there will be sometimes communication delays when, let's say, if your network is not that great, or like something is wrong, then it creates a kind of a hassle for the audience. Okay, now that is where you need to be very, very clear that you don't use words. Instead, you can use your nodding of the head, or you can use the gestures, which conveys that you are listening, you are understanding. You necessarily don't have to say some words, okay, etc. So that's one of my learning, which I convey to my team members whenever they go for introduction, etc. So, for example, when we are introducing the team member to the client, then we ensure that they are not using any okay, yes in between when the client is talking, because what is really happening is you also miss a track of what they are trying to convey, because you miss out when you say okay, it overlaps with the next sentence. So it's always better to avoid that. Similarly, having this feedback sandwich I was talking about, right? having a positive, then improvement, then positive. So those are some of the things which you can do. And then right timing, right channel. Whether the communication has to be direct or it has to be contextual. So these are some of the things you need to be aware of. That's what is really important here. Then be mindful of eye contact. Now, as I mentioned, eye contact, it's generally considered good in the Western world. Even in India, we believe that when we are talking to people, we should have and maintain a nice eye contact. That's what we have been all been taught. But in some Asian cultures, it is considered to be rude. So that means when you are traveling to places like China or Japan, you have to be mindful that you're not using your eye contact, which can be offensive to people. Thumbs up. In fact, the Anupama mentioned about thumbs up. In some countries it is, or most of the countries it is considered to be okay, but in certain countries it is considered to be offensive. Similarly, like again, getting to the personal space of people, etc. So there are so many such things which we need to be mindful of, and these are matter of practice. And we spoke about the CQ. The cultural quotient is where you need to, or cultural intelligence is where you need to take care of these matters, and you will have to take conscious efforts in improving it day by day. Slow down to go far. Yeah. So don't rush to conclusions. This is something which is like, at least I practice that. Wait, listen, consume. And once you have processed it properly, only then react. Because sometimes what happens is we just try to, we want to demonstrate our skills or knowledge that, oh, I know about this topic very well. I just want to convey that as soon as possible. That rush is not required. Avoid that rush when you are in these kind of communications, etc. Similarly, respect the learning curve and different time zones. So there will always be, let's say you might know something very well because you have been using. I'll give you an example. Let's say Asana, you have been using for so many clients. You're so comfortable with Asana, but now there comes a client who is newly moving to Asana, and they're learning it. Okay, now just because you know it so well, you don't have to rush. You don't have to demonstrate your skills to that person. You can help them, but at the same time, demonstrating that, oh, you know this better, is not required. So those kind of things can be easily avoided. Then pause before reacting to unclear emails. Very, very important. And we all have done this. I'm sure most of the audience will agree to this fact that we just react and then we realize that, oh, I could have just waited. I should not have written this email. Maybe it was just unclear. Maybe if I would have read it twice or thrice, I would have get the better understanding of the email. Similarly, be open to repeating or rephrasing without frustration. Nothing wrong. If someone is repeating, whatever you've conveyed to confirm their understanding, just wait, be patient, let them confirm. Same thing applies to you as well. When you are trying to convey something to your audience, and or someone is trying to convey to you, and then you want to confirm your, that's one of the best practices, getting it confirmed. So slow down. Trust is the real language of business. So yes, without trust, you cannot go long. And if you have to go long, you need to establish that trust. And especially with some cultures, like if you have to operate in the Indian market, or if you have to operate in the Middle East, Asian markets, you have to develop those relationships before you actually get into the actual business. Whereas in Western world, it is all about the task. First is, what is the task? Focus is on the task. Okay, and then once you are able to perform well, that is over deliver. I mentioned about under promise and over delivery. If you are able to establish that over delivery and you are really able to make that difference, then it moves to the next level, whereby it becomes more about your delivery than about your other attributes. Then small talk talks are not small talks. It does not mean that you have to compulsorily push about the climate. It's not required. Uh, Depending on the context. Now, let's say the client is already fuming. They've come with a complaint. There's a problem. Now you start talking about the cricket or about the climate. It's not acceptable, right? It's natural. So during those time, just ensure that you keep your small talk very really small. You just use that only from a okay you from the contextual perspective. So these are some of the things which is not specifically that you can go and learn somewhere, but it's all about getting experienced. Maybe sometimes you may go wrong, but then you can use the real life examples, and you can use them. You can learn from them. So that's about the trust. Let visuals speak across borders. Okay, so now we all know that the easiest way is to have as many visuals and charts and avoid as much language you can avoid, so that to have a better communication. So that's where we all are trained that whenever we are presenting something, try to use as much infographics as possible on your website, or your brochures, whatever communication style or communication piece that you're using for your campaigns, etc. Just ensure that you're using more of these things so that people, without going into the language and complexities, etc., they just understand the specific requirement, and these can be easily localized to the respective markets as well. Now there are, in fact, I've just listed down some of the tools which can help you in designing some of these in accordance with the respective geographies itself. So use these tools. There are a lot of AI tools also which are available, which you can utilize. Invest in cultural intelligence, and in fact, we have already covered a lot about the CQ part. So here it is all about conducting various like as I mentioned, we conduct a lot of sessions for our team members. We keep repeating it time and again so that it just gets inculcated into the minds of the people. So same thing you'll have to do. Language, like grammar, is the biggest concern, right? We may be thinking that we are conveying something, but then it lands completely different. So use of tools like Grammarly or Duolingo. So I'm sure most of these are free tools, so you can use these tools. Then attending country specific or etiquette guides, or downloading them, or just go to ChatGPT and just type in what you really want to know about. Let's say you're scheduled to travel to Australia or US. Just try to understand what is very specific, and web will throw so much of information in front of you, which will help you in achieving cross cultural, or minimizing the cross cultural differences. So then create a culture corner on your team's intranet. Yes. So, for example, gallery is a best source whereby you showcase, about your people. So the clients can learn about your culture easily, because otherwise what they're doing. In fact, we have started doing this. I'll share this information with you guys that we share a lot of information about the engagement activities. Suddenly they come to know that okay, there is one team member that they have been working with has such nice singing skills or dancing skills. It just helps the conversation, so the rapport is built, and we share those photos or videos, etc., whenever there are cultural events which are taking place with their clients, etc. So that helps. And then regular Q&A or peer learning sessions. So these are all internal matters, all that you need to build within your organization when you're working in cross cultural environments. So that's pretty much on various strategies that can which can help in improving your cross cultural communication.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. To make a gist of it, basically it's have like a chief people management officer or something as such role where they can go and get more guidance on, and they can do more of a trainings internally in the office now and then, so they also get updated with the culture of the other
Absolutely.
country.
And
And
lot of organizations are already doing it. Like they're already appointing, they're creating departments, specific departments to handle this, to manage cross-cultural matters.
Okay, that's great. I am sure audience would also be have found it really helpful with all the strategies. Now, coming to the next question is that a lot of people have this in their mind as to they are looking forward to working with the US based clients and companies. So, can you just briefly walk us through the culture, the US business culture, and how it works comparatively with other cultures around the globe?
100%, Anupama. So I do really understand, considering that Institute is trying its best to bring in these certification courses so that we can train our fellow members to expand their horizons across the globe. Okay, just not limiting or confining themselves to Indian market. So, and there is a lot more focus, because the reason I'm sure why you guys have included this topic in this discussion itself is because, especially when it comes to outsourcing, US is one of the biggest market. Okay, there's so much of outsourcing happening from US to India, especially into the accounting domain. So we will try to cover what is really involved when you're dealing with people from the US or US businesses. So the first thing is the core of the communication. These are the 5 core values, I would call it as, when it comes to US people, and that's what they believe in. So for them, the first thing is direct communication. They don't believe in indirect communication, as I mentioned, like maybe I can try, I may do it, I'll try to give it in 2 days. In 2 days, it's not acceptable. So whenever we are communicating with the US client, it has to be direct communication. It has to be to the point. Okay, it can't be vague. Okay, so every communication we need to ensure that we are considering these 5 matters. So direct communication, time is money, so efficiency and punctuality are highly respected. So if you are especially with US, for them time is so precious because they are all running. Okay, so for them, if you're wasting time with, let's say there is an internet issue, you are entering into a meeting and you're not able to convey what you wanted to, and you're wasting time of a client, not acceptable. So you'll have to be prepared before you get into the meeting. Result oriented, they are very very focused and result oriented. So for them, efforts do not matter. All that matters is the outcome, and they're very very particular about this. Yes, it may sound sometimes tough, but actually speaking, that is what gives value, and that is why US is what it is. So merit based performance and achievement drive recognition and promotion. So nothing is experience based or age based. It's not based on how many numbers of years that you put in. It's all based on what is that you are able to showcase by way of performance and achievements, and that is what drives your recognition and promotions. Similarly, it's all about the individual. It's not, yes, there are teams, but then even in teams, they try to focus on individual person, individual contributor, rather than just the team as such. So, in fact, when we do it, under each team, we also try to recognize one team member who has performed really well, and we call that as employee of the month. So that happens. We don't do that for a group ever. So it's always for that particular person. So again, these are some of the learnings which we have learned over a period of time. So that's the business culture in US. In terms of etiquette and what is essential, punctuality, as I said, arrive on time or 5 minutes early. On time is still late. So, and if you're coming after the scheduled time, then not at all acceptable. You will get the email in next 2 minutes or so that I'm already waiting and wasting time. So being late is seen as very disrespectful, and whether it is personal meeting, in person or virtual, doesn't matter. Dress code, again, I wouldn't like to comment much on this, but yes, in a corporate setting, usually it's formal in US with suits and business dress. Whereas if it is a creative or startup kind of a environment, then it's all business casual. But then, as I mentioned, if you're not sure, dress slightly more formally. That's it. That's the best way. Meeting, start with a quick personal greeting, then get to business. US means no little talks, not like no bridging talks, nothing is required. All that is quick greeting, get into the business, set the agenda. Always set an agenda. If you don't set the agenda, then people won't even give much of attention and they will be like you're just beating around the bush. Sure. So please always set the agenda, and also specify the time limits. Let's say if it is 30 minutes meeting, you practice before. Let's say if you are doing a presentation, ensure that you are timing the presentation for 30 minutes. Okay, they may ask you extra questions, fine, but you will have to catch up. So we have to be mindful of that time, and now I'm mindful of my time as well. So it's again 10 minutes more, but I'm sure I'll be able to complete it. Meetings, start with a quick personal greeting, then get to business. Agenda, everyone is encouraged to contribute. So now it's not about, okay, I'm the head, only I'm going to speak. No, even the junior members are encouraged to speak. That's the attribute there. So this is from business etiquette perspective. Then it's all about, as I mentioned, when it comes to US market, it's all about people are expected to take ownership individually. So individualism is what is kind of whether it is recognition or whatever reward or credits or even otherwise, it is to do with the individual contribution. Professional network. It's when you're trying to network in the US market, it's very professional. People still use a lot of business cards. People have started using e-cards now, but still there. LinkedIn connection is a must. So as part of your marketing strategy, you should include that. Value placed on data, KPIs, and outcomes. So result based organization. So or result based service is what everyone is interested in. So the moment you are getting into any kind of a contractual relationship, ensure that you define your KPIs and the outcomes very clearly, and make it a point to always share your performance on a regular interval. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, but ensure that you are always providing those matrices to the client so that they are able to have a visibility on what is really happening in terms of the results. Do's, be concise and confident. Time and calendar, first name, follow through on promises and deadlines. So it can be their side, it can be our side, but ensure that there is always a follow up done. Let's say if you are about to complete something, it is well within the time limit. Still go and say that we are on track and we will deliver it on time. If it is delay, then please necessarily go and say that we are expecting a delay. Instead of Friday, we will deliver it on Monday, 5 o'clock. Acceptable, no problems at all. Don't get overly personal too quickly. Avoid vague or indirect communication. Maybe we will see, I'll try. No, not acceptable. Don't assume hierarchy is rigid. Even senior leaders may be informal. So don't assume things. But yeah, try to be formal as much as possible. Avoid last minute cancellation or changes. This is the last thing you can do. When you have scheduled a call or a discussion, no, ensure that you're not canceling or making last minute changes unless until it's like something very unavoidable one. So which everyone understands and accepts. All right. So that brings us to effective communication styles.
Yeah, so that was on the US culture. I'm sure most of them were looking forward to the working styles, the US culture. Now, coming to back to our topic where we are looking forward for the communication styles. What would be the different communication styles across the globe, and what are those effective styles that we can adapt so that it doesn't cause any offensive
Perfect.
gestures or as such? So you can throw some
So,
light on those
sure.
communication styles.
Okay. So first thing is say what you mean clearly. Okay. This is the first rule that you need to adapt to whenever you are getting into any kind of communication, and if you want this communication to be effective. Okay. So don't use any. It's be direct, but at the same time be respectful. Don't use any jargons. Avoid jargons, because the moment you start using jargons, and people will be like, because they will not understand, because jargons are very specific to each culture, each language, each geography. So avoid jargons. Structure matters. Okay, so always I don't know if you have noticed that whenever I'm giving you a point, I always ensure that there is a structure to it. I'm trying to give point one, point two, point three, and trying to cover that, right? So that is what precisely I've been trained on that for so long. Now that is precisely what most of the Western world people wants. They want, the whenever there is a communication happening, there has to be a logical order, starting from the main point and then adding details and then having drill down into those matters. So and then following it up with the actual heading. So have very clear structure, defined structure, and then written clarity in emails or reports. Please use bullet points as much as possible. Highlight key action items, and uh, I'm sure all of us have seen these subject lines which run to some kilometers. We don't have to use such long subject lines. It has to be very precise, just to the point. Giving and receiving feedback across cultures, as I mentioned, if it is US, UK, the Western world to put together, it's always direct and constructive feedback. Be ready to hear and to give honest feedback. Okay, don't hold on to it. It's okay. People take it really positive. There also, same way, you also need to be prepared that you take it positively. But whereas in Asian countries, it's indirect and a bit, don't not to sound offensive. So that's how it is considered. And yes, reading between the lines, offer feedback softly to maintain harmony and avoid any kind of embarrassment. So listening style, active listening, nod, make eye contact, and summarize key points to show that you have understood the point. So, as I mentioned, don't use in intermittent those words, etc. Let the other person complete the entire conversation. Then you listen. Once you have listened fully, only once you know that that person has completed the point, then you start your point. Some culture use pauses as a sign of respect, not a disinterest. So again, we were speaking about Japanese. So yes, so depending on that culture, be aware of it. Various channels: email, chat, instant messaging, video calls, phone. So these are pretty much we all are aware. So I'll not waste much of the time here. Match tone to the receiver's culture and role. Friendly professional tone works well for US and UK. And Germany and Japan, it's more formal and structured tone is preferred. So golden rule: when in doubt, start formal and adjust based on the other person's tone. This is the funda I've always adopted to, and this is my best point I can give to this audience. Communication in action, global decision making. Yeah, we have discussed, I think, all of this. We have covered time zone awareness, time difference when scheduling. All this is like use. Okay, these applications are very important. So you will notice this World Time Buddy, Google Calendar, Slack time zone tags. So these are really helpful in ensuring that there are no confusions around time zones, etc. So this is what it is. And then the final one.
Yes. Lastly, we have arrived at we can say also as a hot topic, that it is the best practices that we need to adapt in the virtual environment, because uh, it's a now the world is a global village, right? So what are the best practices that you have come across and you have adopted in your profession in this multicultural setup, and what are the do's and don'ts that we should always remember when it is across time zones and screens?
100%. So, Anupama, we have covered most of these, best practices in one form or the other. But let's just summarize it. First thing is, whenever you are in a virtual remote setting, okay, now the way we are all right now sitting virtually and talking here, the first and most important thing is stable internet. Just imagine if we were talking, we are doing this webinar, and let's say my internet was not that great, it was wobbly, and there was disturbances, etc. So it may not give the right, even though I may be so good in communication, which I am not, so I might have, not given you the correct perspective of what I wanted to communicate. So having stable internet is a must. Quiet environment, ensure that there's no background noise, or use headsets and noise cancelling mics. Good lighting and background. Hope that's better. So again, these are very small things, but these are things which matter. These are very small things, but these are the things which make that difference. So camera framing, eye level, so all these are basics, but we'll have to follow. Backup plan. So in fact, I this morning I was checking with my IT team that ensure there's no downtime, there's no problems, because I'm going to be doing this webinar. So in normal parlance, okay, fine, something that they want to do, they may not give you notice, but here today, at least if something goes wrong, then they will give me a notice. They are going to be mindful. So I have kept them posted. That's it. So they will avoid during this time to do any kind of maintenance, but at the same time, if something goes wrong, they are going to come and give me some backup. So see, these are things which we'll have to do either knowingly or unknowingly. Slack, Microsoft Teams, best to use. Trello, Asana, and Monday.com. These are some of the project management tools. So we have covered all these. Meeting etiquette, join on time, mute when not speaking, keep camera on, hand raise. Now we have seen in India, people don't switch on their camera at all, like most of the time. I don't know why. It's you're there for a meeting. Obviously, there can't be anything wrong with your appearance, etc. So you're not hiding your face. So, but it's better to have your camera on, because putting faces to the name is so important, especially in the global environment. Share agenda at least 24 hours before, and stick to timelines. End with clear action item and owner responsibility. So you must, after every meeting, you should define what exactly are the action items, what are the timelines, what are the who is responsible for what. So building trust in remote environment, respecting global calendars, tone, relationship building. So these are pretty much, we have covered most of it. So I think we'll move further. And yeah, it's in nutshell. Use a clean background, communicate via Slack team, always share agenda, punctual. So pretty much, I think we have covered. So we'll move to the quick question and answers. Think we are slightly over, but I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
If there are
we
any
do have.
unanswered questions, Anupama.
Yeah. We do have. I'll just quickly take up. There's one more. I'll club this question because it's almost similar. So one of the members says that they've learned QuickBooks accounting and for global market, but it is getting difficult to get work visa sites like Upwork, etc. Is there any way we can get work from global market? So it's one question. Other question is also similar, similar only. How I can search work in
I
global market?
really, I really respect this question, whoever has asked this, but there's no straight answer. There are no websites where all this work is available. You're already aware of the various freelancing websites or applications, but they can help only to a little extent. So, as I mentioned earlier, also, uh, Certainly this session is not about getting work, but then the best way is you having a strategy, the sales and marketing strategy in place. You reach out to your to your prospects in different ways. That is the only way. There's no shortcut, unfortunately. I shared that, right. In UK, we are still finding it difficult. We have just maybe 10 clients. That's it. We don't have more than that, and we are finding it tough to grow there. It's a challenge, right? And we believe that maybe once these clients they see the value, because even these clients are there only for the last few months. So that means once they see the value, they will talk about this to other clients, and we have got all these clients in the traditional way. No one has helped us. Trust me, no references, nothing. We just started from zero in every market. Australia was from zero. First 6 months, we did not have even a single client. Only in the seventh month, we got one client. And after that, slowly we started growing. And today, we are actually just a correction. Now we are a team of about 700 people. So I hope that answers.
Yeah. There's one last question.
Mhm.
When speaking with overseas clients, is it okay to say too often? Like,
We
for
covered
us.
this. I think I've already covered this in these sessions. So, actually speaking, it is better to avoid these, words or prompts. These are not required because the moment you use these, because of the delay in the delivery of the communication, it will overlap with the next person's sentence, creating it difficult for them as well as for you because you will not understand the next sentence. So in my opinion, best is to use nodding like this. Okay, that's it. Don't do anything beyond that. If you have a question or if you want to, understand or you're not understood, then you can let them finish fully, and then you can ask that question or ask them to repeat. But do not interrupt the flow in between.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
that answers the question. We come to the end. Gaurav, you want to make a gist of it or you want to convey anything else? Over to you for a minute, then I'll take it up.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll say that I think I've spoken a lot. I think everyone can use this presentation if you want. It is available with the team, ICI team, and they will be able to help you. Or if you want to reach out to me, my contact details are on the page. I'm happy to be reached out over WhatsApp or email or LinkedIn. I'm more active on LinkedIn, so GORAV is the spelling. So you can look for that spelling and you can reach out to me. And I'll be happy to help, not in getting your first client, but at least ways in which you can get your first client. So thank you so much. It has been wonderful.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. That was, in fact, jam-packed session with which threw light on how the cultural communication is really important. With that, we come to the end of the session. I hope you have taken all your Q&As. We are still happy to take your questions further. You can post it on the ICI or you can mail it to ICI or you can go beyond that to get more insights because ICI is also conducting a lot of webinars in future under this Global Udan series. And there are also certain, as I said, there are online courses, language courses. There are other online courses that you can take up, like unlocking US markets, where you can get more insights on these topics. With that, we are coming to the end of the session. And as we draw this insightful session to close, it's my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Gaurav Gupta, for sharing your valuable time and expertise with us today and your perspectives on navigating globe through cross-cultural communication was indeed a thought-provoking and was deeply relevant to the current global landscape. And a sincere thanks to all the participants, all the CA members who have joined us from various parts of the country. Your active presence and thoughtful questions and your enthusiasm made the session truly engaging and meaningful. I would also extend my thanks to the team behind the scenes, our technical support, our content coordinators, and event organizers for ensuring that everything ran seamlessly. Special appreciation and special note to Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and CA Abhay Chadet sir, and he's the convener of. He is also the convener of the Directorate Development of International Trade Services and WTO Directorate ICAI, and CA Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singhal, sir, he is a Deputy Convener and Directorate ICAI, for the continued support in making such knowledge sharing platforms possible. With that, I thank each and every one of you once again for being part of the session. We hope to see you all in our future webinars as we continue to learn, share, and grow together. Until then, to everyone who joined us today, thank you for your time and thoughtful engagement. Stay curious, stay culturally aware, and let's continue building a world where diversity drives collaboration. Until next time, take care and keep communicating across cultures and across continents. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See ya.